Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet and Good Torah. So this is now the 6th week of Sefirat HaOmer, the week of Yesod, the week of foundation. It's a very exciting week. We're about to complete our second triad, our second cycle of the Sefiras. So first we began with chesed, with kindness, and we balanced it with gevura, strength and restraint. And then we had this beautiful harmony of tiferes, of beauty and harmony. And then we go to the next level and we elevate it. And this one's a little trickier, a little more complex, but we have Neztach. We start to balance eternity, and it's also called victory and dominance, maybe even control is a good analogy. Like when we start to do kindness in the world, we're victorious, and we start to have more control over how events are going on in the world. And then we balance Netzach, we balance victory and eternity with hod, with empathy, sympathy. And then when we balance and we bring these together, we have Yesod. And we have Yesod, and Yesod's called foundation. And Yesod's fascinating because Yesod is almost in the final step, and Yesod is right above Malchus. And Malchus is kingship, royalty. And Yesod is the connection between the spiritual world and the physical world. And all the spiritual, all the ruchnius, all the spiritual work we're doing comes now into manifestation into the physical world. And it's fascinating because Yesod on the human body is related to the ability of reproduction, the ability to bring children into the world. So now when we balance these two sets, and we can bring Siddiqim into the world, we can bring holy children, and it's also called Yesod is called Tzaddik, which means the righteous one, and it's also called Chai and Chei Holamim, life, Chai, and life of the worlds, an aspect of Hashem, life of worlds. That Hashem is the one that gives life to all these worlds and everything that's created. So let's talk a little more. So Hashem is the ultimate manifestation of the Tzaddik. And we said that Tzaddik is the Yesod HaOlam, that the Tzaddik, the righteous person, is the one that's the foundation for all the world. And even though we have 6 billion, 7 billion people, the few Siddiqim that are in the world, they're the ones that everything, all the good, all the blessing, all the bracha that comes in the world is for them. And the manifestation of the Tzaddik that we can look at in the Torah is Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph. So how did he reach this level? When he resisted the temptation of the wife of Potiphar, then he reached this level of Tzaddik. So how does actually someone become a Tzaddik? How does someone become righteous? Someone that's very careful with the food that he eats. Not just eating kosher, but controlling the eating. Well, we now control the eating, and the eating is only to give us strength to learn Torah and do mitzvos. And we're elevating eating, and that helps rectify the chet of Adam Arishon, when Adam and Eve, when they ate from the tree of Eitz Das Tov Ra, when they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, we start to rectify that. So we can rectify it through fasting, and we can do a tikkun, a rectification, through eating properly. And also when we start to have control over our physical desires in every aspect, and we control, we only look at holy things and we only hear holy things, and when someone reaches this level, now this is a high spiritual madrega, a high spiritual level, when someone has total control over their physical, desires, that person reaches the level of a tzaddik, and then that person can take all this ruchnius, take all this spirituality, and can bring it into the world. Now, all of us, and there's in part of the Masorah, we have this tradition that there's these Lamed Vav Tzaddikim, that every generation has these 36 Tzaddikim that hold up the whole world, but they may be hidden. We don't know who these 36 are. They don't walk around going, "Hey, I'm one of the 36." But this 36 is these Tzaddikim hold up the whole world, and so when we balance the Netzach and the Hod, so this is like a great shalom bias in a marriage, that where there's there's great harmony and balance between the husband and the wife, then through that balance and through that connection, life is brought into the world. And life is brought into the world. And you can see the manifestations of Neztach because eternity, because through children, through your grandchildren and great-grandchildren, you, even though we are all, finite and mortal, through our children, our teachings and our beliefs, we start to live through the generations, maybe for the good. And then empathy and sympathy, anyone who's ever raised children, you develop, even more than just a relationship of husband and wife, but it even helps that. And you begin to develop, ideally first with your husband and your wife, you start to develop sympathy and empathy with that person. You think more about that person than yourself. And that's that first step of Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferes. And you start to get that relationship between husband and wife. And when that relationship is solidified at a high spiritual level, you go to the next relationship where that balance, that shalom bayis between a husband and wife can now go forward into more generations. And through Yesod, bringing the spiritual of children into the world. So I hope everyone has an uplifting 6th week of Sefirat HaOmer. The weather's beautiful. We're still in Chodesh Iyar, the month of healing. So everyone should have a physical and spiritual healing and start to hopefully reach that balance between Neztach and Hod and Yesod. And then finally, we're going to go into that 7th week of Malchus, of kingship, of royalty, on our way to Shavuos and receiving the Torah. All right, all the best. Have a great week.